your girl, Constance Carter, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your what? Your money. Money. Today, we are tackling a hot button topic that's been stirring up controversy and conversations all over social media. It's a viral post that claims successful, high-earning women become less attractive to men. It seems like something that they are saying very often. I don't know what it is. Let's be real. We know that for years, men were expected to be the breadwinner, while women were encouraged to depend on them financially. That was all in the past. But times have changed, y'all. More women than ever are out here. Yes, guess what? These women right here, they're securing the bag. Yes, they're building businesses. They're leveling up financially. But does that come at a cost in the dating world? We have some women who are married and we have some women who are single, some women who are divorced and some women who have never been married. So we want to know, and we're posing the question to you too. Are men truly intimidated by financial independent Black women? I got to put the Black on there though, because it seems to be a different conversation with Black men than it is white men. Or is it just another narrative, not only to keep us in the box, but to keep us divided as a community? Today, we're going to ask some real questions. With all of these beautiful, brilliant, bold Black women, are we too much for potential partners? Do us as high-achieving women struggle more in the dating world? Do we? And let me ask you this. Is there any truth to the idea that men prefer women who need them financially? We're going to break it all the way down to the very last compound. You heard me. First, we got this one right here. Dr. Alicia. She is a coach, a therapist, a PhD, a professor, and all of the things. And then we have Miss Noma Linda. She's married. She's going to give us a great perspective from being a married woman living in two different places and spaces and all the things that happen in her world, in her perspective. And then we have the PhD, Miss Dr. Lene Javette. She is a brilliance coach. She teaches you how to monetize your brilliance. And then last but certainly not least, we got the international real estate superstar, Laura Lala Key. Baby, we got the whole lineup right here to have just the discussion that we need to discuss. Because what I saw was some dumb shit. But let's look at the video, and I want to get your opinions for yourself.
Guys and the young guys, now I hear from a lot of young guys that they want a woman who's making this who has reached a certain income threshold. So income wise, not talking about vision, not talking about just long term things that they want to do, but income wise, their income threshold.
I don't care.
I'm I
don't care. Like I'm fighting. I literally do everything in my life so that I don't have to have that as a metric for you. And there's so much more. That's why I was like, the passion is way more important than the income. Like I don't care, because if you start having my kids and I want you to be at home, that income is gone anyways. So who cares? Like, I want you to do stuff that you enjoy, but like, I'm not pressing about like, oh, you need to make 300, 400K a year. The amount of people that can even make that kind of income is so minuscule.
That's what realism is kicking in at.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like, hypergamy is real too. So like most like women date across and up, social dominance hierarchies, and men date across and down. So as men rise up, you have nothing but more options. As women rise up, they have very smaller options. And also a lot of the things that get them to those points negate them. The guys that are in the same space,
they don't want that.
They don't want it because they're like, oh, you're combative, and like you feel like you need to be a boss and all this other stuff, and like
you telling me what to do,
right? And I love you, and I think you might be great, etc. for somebody else, but you probably need a Robin.
It's crazy.
You don't need a Batman.
I actually had a woman tell me. She says literally, I got a good job. I make very, very good money, and she says the only thing I need now is a man. It's like, yo, it's like, who wants you? Who wants you? You're right. Like, once you have achieved these things, you have unfortunately disqualified yourself.
Ooh, shit.
And what it is these, and this is the thing. I'm not blaming
the women are gonna hate him for that shit. They are gonna hate him for that. I can't wait to put this shit out.
They should love me.
He said it, ladies.
They should love me for this shit, because the women, I don't think they understand that, and I don't blame the women for that. I blame these weak ass Negroes out here.
Fair.
Like, because these women, they don't want to wait. You got this social media phenomenon, and they see this lifestyle. They don't want to wait to find you to build the lifestyle that they want. So they
Correct.
go out and build it themselves. And when they build it themselves, it's like, yo,
What I need you for?
what?
Y'all. So I'm seeing in the comments, I'm seeing what the folks in the comments are saying. I want to know, like, is there anybody in the comments or in real life? Let's say that. Because the podcast microphones they give them away too freely. I don't know if this is part of the white supremacy. Listen, everything for me is about white supremacy. The white supremacist agenda to give these silly ass Negroes microphones. That's the new crack, y'all. The new crack is giving microphones to the most silliest Negroes on earth. But is anybody in the comments, does anybody actually think like this in real life? Anybody actually agree with this? I think I want to start with Dr. Lene. Dr. Lene, have you been married? Have you had these types of conversations with people? Like, is this a thing as a single woman?
No, I have not been married.
Okay.
And this conversation is happening. I've told you guys before, when I got my PhD, I had multiple people had the conversation with me. You're not going to be able to date. You already bachelor's degree, MBA, full-time entrepreneur, you make multiple six figures. Now you're getting a PhD. You're literally not going to be able to date anybody. They didn't say disqualified, but they basically said that. But I haven't seen that. But I think I've said it before. When I got the PhD, they were coming out the woodworks. Like I thought it too. Like, okay, nobody's gonna date me now, but it actually increased my value. So I didn't have that situation. But
okay,
I do
so
hear
you
it all
heard
the
it.
time.
Now, who did you hear it from? What type of people did you hear from?
I heard it from mostly women. I heard it from more women than I did men, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. But the men, you had no problem pulling these men.
The men thought it was sexy.
She said, I got options. I always say, listen, men are like Lay's potato chips. Nobody can have just one. Anyway, Lala. Lala, as a married woman, and you've been married your whole entire adult life, has this been a conversation, or is this something that you've actually had to even listen to or converse about, or your friends or anybody you know think like this?
Well, friends, yes. A lot of the male friends that we have, they have problems with that. It's not a problem in my household. There are some years that I make more than him. There are some years that I make a little less than him. We don't care. It's our household. He doesn't have that he-man mentality that I've got to do everything. We do it together. However, I do know many men friends of ours who have a problem with that and have actually said, she made more than you? I'm just wondering in real estate. And he's like, why should that matter even if it does? And get out of business. But for the most part, yeah, all the men friends that we pretty much have issues with it. And women do think about that. And I have actually heard women say, well, if you make more than him, he's going to have a problem.
That's interesting. So, AB said, is this a black male issue? I'm going to throw that over to you, Noma, because you have had the experience of being on two continents. And is this a black male issue? Is this something that is actually discussed with African men? Or is this just a black American male issue?
What's interesting is now, globally, there isn't much difference in what we're exposed to in terms of rhetoric or the things that we see. And, I'm in Botswana right now, and I actually have watched many episodes of that show that those guys are from, which is called Hardly Initiated. But I do want to offer a slightly different perspective and say that, those are young men. I think they're in their late 20s, early 30s, maybe. And they're very careless with how they speak. I do think, though, that when men speak, if we are women, heterosexual women who want to be in relationships and marriages with men, what they say and how they feel actually counts, and it actually matters. And when we kind of laugh at what they're saying, all they'll do is still think how they think and feel how they feel and just not say it.
Interesting. So you're saying that these men, since they're young men, they actually express how they feel, but when the men get a little bit older, they're not being as expressive?
I think you can be more mindful of how you put across your ideas. They're just very careless, I feel like. But
Got it.
ultimately, at the beginning of the show, I heard, it's old fashioned that we should still expect men to be primary providers. I think that's current. Women can work if they want to or if they're able to, but it doesn't change the fact that the primary provider of a household and the primary responsibility to provide and protect that family is the man. That
Yeah.
still stands, and that will never change.
Yeah. So for you, Dr. Alicia, are you with us? Or you want another show? What you doing over there?
I'm being distracted. My husband is distracting me.
Dr. Boyce Watkins, go away. We
He's
are
listening
having
to
a
the
show
show.
right now.
But I did ask him off camera. Well, by the way, I've been married twice. Both my husbands have made way more money than me. I did not intend for that to happen. I did not know they made more money than me when I started dating them, both of them. So I just want to put that out there. Okay, so the first thing, I asked him, I said, how would you feel just now? I said, how would you feel if I made way more money than you? And he said, that would be fantastic. As long as you share it with me.
Right, that part.
We can pull it together and we can share. And I said, absolutely, I'll share any bit of my money with you. So he says that he feels comfortable, not if he was not the primary provider of the household, that he would feel perfectly fine. He would still feel like a man. He would still he said that he admires my ambition. He admires the fact that I have invested in my education, that I continue to push myself and to strive. And he says that it's inspiring and that he really loves that about me. That's what he told me. Just now.
You got a good man there, ma'am. And we're gonna go to a break really quick. But I do want to know, is it a realistic ask to have a man make more money than you in this society where Black women are the most educated and we are making money? We are out here securing the bag. Is it actually a realistic ask for that? Let's go to break and we're going to come back right back.
It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
So let's go to that slide about Black women being the most successful, because I want to, that's what the question that I had. We have a slide that talks about Black women are the most educated group in the US and their earning power continues to grow. So there's another slide that we have with a picture of a bunch of Black women on it. These women are doing things in corporate America. So for you ladies, is this actually a realistic ask from a Black woman to say, I want a man that got to make more money than me? You have the whole, what's her name? Keisha, Ebony, who said she can't have a man driving a bus because he ain't on her level. Is that a realistic ask for a Black woman, Lala, to say you got to make more money than me, or for a Black man to say she has to make less money than me?
No, because it's not about always money. That is a symptom of the problem. The problem is you need to be with someone who is equally yoked. Mm-hmm. If you're equally yoked, it doesn't matter how much that person is making, because you already know that you are a team. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you don't want you both to grow and improve and reach for your dreams. But it is unrealistic. And this is why I believe that some women, this is my personal opinion, are not married, They're so worried about what the man is doing. What is he making? I ain't dating no bus driver. I ain't dating no street cleaner. Well, you know what? He could be the head of the street cleaning department and have a good business sense and just happy in his job. So we have to get out of the mentality of what we want someone financially, and do you really want a true connection? Because there is a difference.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And what you said, it reminded me. I went to a funeral a couple weeks ago, last week. My uncle Bill, and I didn't know he worked for the sanitation department. My uncle died wealthy, several apartment complexes, real estate, stocks, bonds, but he worked for the sanitation department. So while these women are out here talking about choosing who they not going to date because of their profession, here you got a black man who worked for the sanitation department. You know what that is, right? Y'all know what sanitation department is? It's garbage. And he died wealthy. And he left generational wealth for his children and his children's children. So we definitely got to get off that train about what these men is doing and what they not doing. Dr. Lene, one of the things that they said in that video is the higher women climb, the less options they have. The higher men climb, the more options they have. Now, you already said, listen, these ninjas is coming out the woodwork because I got a PhD. Do you find that to be true or false?
Unfortunately, I do agree with that. I think that I agree because, so let me say for my situation, I'm around a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, right? So I think that does change things. I think if you're in like corporate America and you're dealing with people who are going to regular jobs, that does change because in corporate America, I think you have more men than you have women. But in the entrepreneur space, we're all kind of floating, trying to go to the same place. We're all hustling and grinding. We can see and appreciate the ambition and the drive. So I don't think it's as prevalent, I'll say, right? But I do think that it is true in corporate America, almost because you're like pitted against each other. It is almost a competition. When you're both entrepreneurs or you're both kind of out in these entrepreneur streets grinding, it's kind of like what Lala says. One year you might do better, one year he might do better. You guys might combine, you're building together. So it's a little bit different, I think, because you're both going in the same direction. But I do agree, as a man makes more money, he becomes a better provider, which opens up his options, and women want the man that can provide.
Makes a lot of sense. Noma, Morning Coffee said higher earning is not the problem. They're unattractive. It's the attitude that comes along with it. Sure, you can be a boss at work and leave that at work. Is that the problem that a lot of these women are having? Is they're making the money, but they're always trying. They're also that's the word I'm looking for. They're also trying to boss at home too.
Well, that is some of the feedback that you get if you talk and listen to men. But I did want to say, earlier we were talking about being high achievers. And we kind of assigned high achieving to making money or being successful in business or career or corporate America, whatever. But I take pride in being a high achiever in my marriage. I take pride in being a high achiever in raising our children. And of course, I take pride in being a high achiever in my entrepreneurial and business ventures. But above all, I take pride in our family collectively being successful. And I think that's a fact that we kind of overlook sometimes. I don't like this conversation about he makes, she makes, when it's supposed to be one common family pot. And when you're putting it in a common pot, I really don't see why there's so much fixation on where it's coming from. If you're a good wife, you do support, encourage, and nurture your husband to greatness, and that should increase his earning potential or his ability to earn income. And the same applies to him. If he supports you, you do better, whether it's with your marriage, whether it's mothering or with your money-making ventures. So there's always the spirit of division that we're dealing with. And if we could kind of look at things from a different perspective, which I always encourage, then the conversation can shift. It doesn't have to be us being pitted against each other. If we're a family and we're building wealth and we want to build it for generations, who cares where it comes from?
Right.
And another factor is we can't ignore the fact that women, when they're in childbearing age, are going to spend less time making money, or they should anyway, in my opinion. They're going to spend less time or focus or concentration. making money in that family. And that should never be minimized and said to be less of a success. That's great success. If your family falls apart and you're chasing the dollar, I'm not sure if you'll be proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself for keeping your family together. And you should be proud of yourself that you have that common pot that you're building, and not just for yourself. It should build for generations and generations and generations.
Good shit, Noma. Good shit. Good shit. What you're saying is really real. I think people we have our priorities in the wrong direction, in the wrong areas. So to that point, Dr. Alicia, can women do both successfully? Can they be high achievers outside of the home and inside of the home? Is that a possibility? Because remember, we talked about the idea of balance and, trying to balance it all, balance being a myth, but harmony being a must. Can a woman be high achieving in the workforce and also high achieving at home?
I think so. I love what everybody is saying. I really, really love what everyone is saying. And to be a high achiever at work, it can't just be top down. You have to have good listening skills. You have to be able to get along with people. You have to be able to empathize with other individuals. You have to be able to make decisions collaboratively. These are the qualities that make you a good spouse. You have to also be able to listen and make decisions that are that benefit the company as a whole, that benefit the household as a whole. Your voice is important. And also your spouse's voice is equally important. And that's how you make beautiful decisions, and you can guide the family together in a way that's helpful. I think that's wonderful. I think that what we're talking about too is that it's not just about income. I'm thinking about, why did I marry the men that I married? Because I had 2 husbands. Both of them had a wonderful money mindset. Like they believed in investing, so it's not just about how much money they earned. It was what they did with the money. It wasn't like they were frivolous and they just blew it on crap and just spent money like water. They were responsible. They made really good decisions with their money. And that's what I liked. I liked that more so than how much they made. It was what they did with their money. Did they invest it? Were they thinking long term? This is the kind of person I want to put my trust in, because I'm thinking long term. So if it's somebody that's just spending money every weekend and being irresponsible, that's not attractive to me at all.
So the idea of what they can do with their wealth and with their investments, that's what kind of was more of an attraction for you, obviously.
Yeah, for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with that being said, I want to bring that back to you, Dr. Lene, in terms of, the thing that they do. We talked about balance and all that stuff. And I know that you were a single mom and you were getting it. Like you got the PhD and you got the bachelor's and the master's and all of that. How was it? Were you able to not balance? Because we already know we've talked about this before, but could you do both very well, or did something have to suffer?
I'm gonna say I did not do them all very well, but I'm gonna say it from the perspective of not balance, not even harmony. I literally threw myself. So you guys know, I didn't think I was gonna be a good mom. Like I didn't want to have kids when I was growing up, and I didn't think I was gonna be a good mom. So for me, the mom piece always gets the biggest share because it's the thing that I thought I was going to be the weakest in. And then education and school and my career got the next bulk of it. So dating kind of got away from me, right? In hindsight, I wish I would have dated. In hindsight, I wish I would have made relationship more important than what I thought it was. Because now that I'm older, it's more important to me. Like hindsight is 2020, right? So when I'm younger, I'm thinking, I got to get it. Kind of like what, I forget who said it. You feel like if I don't get it right now, I'm not going to get it. And if I don't have a relationship, I'm not going to get it. So I have to get it for myself. So I guess I can kind of relate to what he's saying, right? I figured be a good mom, have a good career in business, and then we can add a relationship later. And I don't necessarily think that that's the right way to do. So I would do it differently if I could go back and do it again.
That's interesting. We're going to go to break, but that's really interesting because I just came to this epiphany like a couple of days ago to where I was like, I'm gonna get a man in March. I'm gonna start dating in March. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start dating in March. Like
you didn't put a date on it. You put it in March.
Yes, I'm gonna manifest. He's coming in March. My man, asked here. My man's coming in March. And then I was sitting in the bed the other day, and I was just like, I ain't got time to be messed. I don't have time. Like I'm grinding. I'm hustling. I just want a Tuesday. Just
I
a
always
Tuesday.
say we make time for the things that are important to us. So it's
Yeah.
not that
I don't have
we
time.
don't have the time. You haven't met somebody that you want to make the time for.
Listen, my divorce took a lot of money from my pockets. I have to build my reserve back up. So my focus is on getting back what I lost. And he could come later. So we can hang out on Tuesdays. You can send me a meme on Wednesday or Friday. We might be able to hang out on Saturday, but I have time for you on Tuesday. Sit.
And that's how we mess up, because he's supposed to come and help us to build like the togetherness, the empire building. But I understand what you're saying too, because it's also tied to trigger. Like, a man is what caused me, a marriage is what caused me to get into this situation. So I get it. I understand both sides. I get it.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So pray for me. We're gonna go for a great break and we're gonna come right back.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us, so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
So this thing be pausing. So that is the idea of, what he's saying is that the more ambitious you get, the less options, quote unquote, you have. Dr. Lene, you've already dispelled that myth. I don't know, because, me being single for the first time and being in this space, I have not had any issues in the dating, in dating. I just haven't found anybody that I like enough to want to spend time with. So that's me. It's not them. But do you think, Lala, that women, in that successful women, they have to shrink themselves in order to, be with men who may not be as ambitious as them, just to save their ego?
No, I don't think anyone.
I know that they shouldn't. Are women doing that?
I do know. I can speak to one friend. She has a high doctorate, smart as I don't know what. She wants to get married. She's in her 40s. She's never been married, and she literally said, "When I go out, I dress down. I take my speech back a little bit because I don't want them thinking that I know more than them." And I'm like, "Well, how do you keep that up, sweetie?" Yeah. You don't keep that up at all. What you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure already by not being you. But I've had that conversation with her many times, and it's still not working, because then she's miserable for not being herself. So you can't have it both ways. You need to be with yourself. You can say the dating pool is small if you want to, but hey, your person is out there. You just have to get out of the way yourself. Period. And like you, Constance, you were saying you haven't found someone that you're willing to spend time with. But baby, sometimes the Lord or whoever you believe in as a higher power goes, guess what? It's time, put down. And you never know if that's coming or not. You just have to have your heart in the right place. Be confident in yourself to understand that you need a partner that is also going to be confident in himself and you together. If you don't have that, I don't care if he's a million trillion billionaire. Period. Yeah. Whether he's making more money or you than not, if you don't have that, you don't have anything.
You're right about that. You're right about that. Something definitely to consider. Dr. Alicia, do people put too much stock in the financial piece of it?
You mean in terms of a relationship, putting too much stock?
like people are defined by the money that they make, or they use that as a definition of who has the power in the relationship.
it shouldn't make a difference how much money someone makes. Once you're in a committed relationship, let's just say a marriage, your worth is not tied to how much money you bring into the household. So you can't say, well, I make more money, so I have more say so. Like that is
I make 80% more money, so I got 80% more say.
What is that? That doesn't work in relationships. It's not legally there either. Like once you get married to somebody, you're one entity. So what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine equally. So in the eyes of the law, it's everybody's money, it's everybody's income, which speaks to, doing what is that called, premarital contracts and stuff that you have,
like
prenups or whatever. So it speaks to that, but that's only if the marriage is dissolved. But while you're in the marriage, you support each other. That's the idea of it. You make sure that both your income and the time spent outside the house to bring in income is just as important. So yeah, I mean, actually, I do recommend that couples sit down and have explicit conversations about income and money and what to do and how to invest and making plans for the future. Hey, let's buy a house, or let's get a dog, or let's get a car, and all of these things you have to plan together. How beautiful is it when it's so much easier when you put your money together and you have another person there to help you out in case you're in need. Like, how comforting. It's supposed to be comforting, to live under one household instead of paying to live separately. You're supposed to be helping each other.
You gotta live with the man too? Sheesh, you asking for a lot. You want me to live with the man too? God dang.
I think that's why we have the issues that we have in our community right now. It's around the money, because a man and a woman, they won't even get to know each other if they can't get past the financial conversation. If a woman doesn't feel like this man makes enough money or has the quality of life that she feels like she is deserving of or afforded, it won't even get past that. This could really be a good man. This could really be a good dude. But we do tie relationships to money. And so you have a lot of good Black women walking around who could be in a relationship, but they don't necessarily know how to get past the money conversation, because a lot of times people do think that who makes the most money is the person who has the power. Who makes the most money is the person who wears the pants. And so if you make more money than your man, unfortunately, and too often, women do walk around feeling like now they get to be the bigger person. And that is the thing that men don't like about it. Right. If I get with a woman who made more money and she treated him like a man and still respected him like a man, and he was still the head of the house and the castle and all the things, because everything went into the same pot, and understood that we are a team, we're working together, it wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't have this conversation. Men wouldn't worry about it. But it's unfortunate that when a woman does come into the relationship making more money, that she then feels like, I make more money than you. I pay the bills. I did it. And so now men feel like I ain't dealing with that across the board.
Yeah, that's stupid, because money doesn't define you. But women and men are defined by their money. And it's unfortunate, because you like you said, you lose out on a lot of good people by doing that. But no, Melinda, I know you said that, you take pride in being a good wife and building your husband. Do you think that men lose their purpose when even if their woman is pouring into them, can feel like they're losing their purpose?
Even if their woman is what?
Is pouring into them. Do you feel like a man can feel like he lost his purpose if she makes more money than him? For men who are driven by, being the breadwinner, but she's doing everything she's supposed to be doing at home, but yet she still makes more money than him. Can he kind of lose his purpose?
So maybe we need to dial it back a little bit, and talk about the choice of man, that woman, would make. So why, if you're the kind of woman that wants to build up your man to be the best that he can be, would you even be with a man who's so obsessed with, you should be doing this, or you should be that's a non-starter already. But I do think that, and I'm speaking personally, and I know I'm more traditional, and I know my view is not the common one. I would take more pride in having a man that makes a lot of money than me making a lot of money, because my ego's never in there. And I also believe that as women, when we're raised right, you have the skills to empower him to be so much more than he would have been without you. Otherwise, what are you even there for? You see? Ooh. So that's a different perspective, like I said. So the focus isn't on how much he makes. It's how much your input in his life is going to cause him to go from here to here. And if you're confident as a woman in your ability to do that, then you're not that preoccupied with, well, I make more than him. That's not even a conversation. I actually prefer if no man ever knows that I make any money at all, because it shouldn't be part of the conversation.
Well, then let me ask you this, Noma. You have kids. How old are your children?
One is about to be 19, another one is 16, and then we have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Lord. Okay. So these are what, Gen Zs? What is this? What generation is this?
I've been having kids since I was in my 20s, and I'm in my
Okay,
40s,
yeah,
so I
couple
spread them
generations.
all the way across
generation
those
is yours?
generations.
But with the values that they're taught, and men being totally different than your age, because what you're a millennial, right? You're a millennial? Yeah.
I'm in my
Are you Gen
40s, so I think I'm a Gen Xer.
Okay. So, but the values being totally different with these kids coming up. Are you teaching your daughters the same thing about building men?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's go
Wait,
to
wait,
this.
wait, Constance, wait, because the way you asked that
question?
question and then how you responded, what are your thoughts on that, Constance? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think that is novel. I don't know that it's really realistic.
Why not?
The
Only
thing is,
because-
right now we're having a conversation about what works, doesn't work, but then we have these stats right in front of us that say, I think, back when I started doing social commentary, I think it was like 2009, 2010, we used to say close to 70% of Black families are led by a Black woman. Now it's like inching up to 80%, and we're still having this conversation, right? And when we're not getting to the root of what it is, there are many factors, of course. There are many factors, and I never want to be careless about how we speak about it. But going back to your question of, is it even realistic to have a single income? The thing is, it just has to happen in a different way than we imagine, because we're thinking of some poor old guy with a menial job, and his woman is dialing back and pretending not to be the great woman that she is and not work in case she hurts his fragile little ego. And that's not really that's not really what it is. Again, if you're choosing or selecting really good quality men who have the ability to grow, develop, as Dr. Alicia said, have that entrepreneurial mind, that enterprising mind, brilliant men who will take little and make it big and grow. You don't have to worry about what a job is giving you, because what you're doing, like I said, is you're not just building money, you're building a family, and you're not just building it for this one generation. You're putting into place a culture that is different than the culture that we're in, because clearly that one's not working for us. You're building a culture that for generations will ensure success for generations, not just looking at okay, how much money does he make? How much money do I make? And then the conversation kind of starts from there. That is so shallow and cheap.
No, I love what you're saying, but culturally, it can that work. But I know Lala, both you and Dr. Lene, you both was like, did you guys have something to say about it? Dr. or Lala?
Only because I understand the question was, what are you teaching your girls? But let's get to the root of the thing. What are we also teaching our young men? We also have to talk to them too. So how is that in your household? Is that a part of your job as well? Or also, does your husband tap in when it comes to that part as well?
And that's the thing, because if you come from generations of marriage, then it's like you don't necessarily even always have to teach it by talking about it. You model it. They follow the example that's been modeled for them. So that is, again, kind of a bit of a shift in how we're looking at this.
You had something to say, Dr. Lene?
No, my question was literally to you, but I like a lot of what Noma is talking about. I think if I was to put it in my own words, I would say we need to start looking at relationship more like partnership and teammates, right? I'm going to help my teammate. As a team, we're going to work together. Sometimes you're going to have 80 and I'm going to have 20. Sometimes I'm going to have 80 and you're going to have 20. Sometimes it's going to be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 90-10. Sometimes I'm going to need you to get 100. Sometimes you might need me to get 100. We are a team and we're working in partnership to get somewhere. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that maybe not gotten away from it, because in the old days, the man was the provider, right? Now women are working too. And so the dynamics of family and relationship have changed a little bit, but not really if we get back to more like traditional concepts and ideas. He works, I work as a team. We are coming together. We're taking what he has, we're taking what I have. We're investing. We don't have a lot of money individually, but together we have enough to invest. Or we're going to live off of his salary and we're going to use my salary to invest, or whatever the case might be. But it's looking at it more like a teammate and partnership. And how do we build and grow together, opposed to I have this much money and basically I can do it better by myself. But two is better than one.
Money comes and it goes. Like it comes and goes. Like you might have it today, it might be gone tomorrow. So putting so much stock in that is wrong. Dr. Alicia, I want to come back to you after the break, but I just think it's interesting. Just with I have 3 boys. So for me, I've taught my boys since they were little how to be gentlemen, how to treat women, all that stuff. Then they go to college and they're like, Mama, that don't work. These girls ain't like you. These hoes ain't loyal. They don't say that, but basically they saying that, right? It's different. So it's you got to add a little bit of steak on top of that. Like there got to be a little bit more balance, because I'm teaching them one thing and they're like, Mom, you're nice. They're not. But we'll talk more about it when we come back from the break.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
I love Gwen's voice. I just had to say it.
I know. Like
she talk about Gwen a lot on the front of the camera, but she's amazing, and I love her voice whenever I hear that video.
Oh my God, I love it too. AB said, I question whether most Gen Z, he said he was talking to AB. He said, I question most Gen Z and millennial men have been raised to be husbands and fathers. I also question whether they have been raised to understand and asset their roles as men. Dr. Alicia, what do you think about that? Because I mean, can you really realistically, for this next generation coming up, have that same servant mindset? Can these young girls have that same servant mindset with these raggedy ass, dusty ass boys? I don't know.
Man, it's gonna be a mess. I think it's the trust is such an issue. Like to really be a teammate with somebody and to really put your trust in another person, that's a very difficult thing to do. That's like, okay, I trust you that you're gonna pay the bills like you said you would, that you're gonna invest like you said, that you're gonna do these things. To be a teammate, you have to know that when your partner's not around, that they're doing the best interest of the entire household, that they're spending their money in a way that is congruent with what the two of you have discussed, within limitations, of course. So you put boundaries around it. And it's always complicated when you have a blended family. Some comes in, some goes to other sources. And so all of that has to be negotiated, and it takes a lot of trust and a big conversation. This younger group coming up, boy, oh boy, there's some positive things about this younger group. I think that they are pretty much egalitarian. So a lot of African-American families are much more egalitarian than other types of families, where they feel like everything should be shared equally. We should have not only just income, but we should share household chores. We should share the parenting responsibilities. And both everybody in the family is better for it. I think we're getting away from putting everything on the woman, that the woman is going to be working and that the woman comes home and takes care of the kids, and it's like a burden. So what I'm seeing is a lot of conversations where some of these household chores, some of these non-financial things are being negotiated. So the whole household is run in a way where it feels more fair. That's what I'm seeing among the younger groups. That, maybe they're moving a little bit away from traditional styles into something that feels more fair for everybody.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. We have a video, but before we go to the video, Lawrence Lamar said, Constance, you have boys. What are you teaching your sons about choosing a wife? And we actually have these conversations, but they've kind of formulated their opinion. they say they want somebody like their mom, but they also, because they saw me working so much, they also don't believe in having a woman be the provider in the way that I was in our household. They don't want that. They're like, I'm a man, so she could work if she wants to, and I love that for them, right? She work, but I want to make sure that I take care of business. I want to take care of the household. But I'm the model for them of the type of woman that they've said, this is what they told me that they wanted. But let's look at this next video.
Literally, she says, I got a good job. I make very, very good money. And she says, the only thing I need now is a man. It's like, yo, it's like, who wants you? Who wants you? You're right. Like, once you have achieved these things, you have unfortunately disqualified yourself.
Ooh, and shit.
And what it is these, and this is the thing. I'm not blaming
the women are gonna hate him for that shit. They're gonna hate him for that. I can't wait to put this shit out.
Number one, what does it mean for us to have all these conversations about what do you bring to the table? The woman say she bring everything and you say, I don't want you no more. What does it mean? Number two, women exceeding expectations and being all they can be is not a negation of your manhood or masculinity. If you feel that way, it is show that your shit is fragile. Number three, as a college professor, you know that studies show that female college students will literally dim their light in order to appeal to their male counterparts because they recognize that men's fragile masculinity will make it where, man, I don't get to feel like a man if you know more than me.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is that true? He said as a college professor, Noma, that these girls are dimming their lights just so that they can date with these little boys.
It's interesting because there was that trend at first, but I saw a recent study that was talking about young women who are late teens, early 20s now, who are actually now kind of gravitating towards more traditional roles. And it does come from sometimes that the reaction to what they saw. Like you kind of alluded to it where you say you saw your mother working so hard by herself. And if you're a young man, you're thinking, oh no, I wouldn't want that for my wife. Or if you're a young woman, you're thinking, oh, I don't want that for myself. I want something where I'm participating in a family and it's teamwork and we're doing it together and I'm not shouldering everything by myself. And it does have, they have experience with it and they're not just saying it in a la-la land. They're actually looking at, oh, well, there was grandma who did this and then there was mom and my aunts and so forth. And this is what I'm choosing for myself based on what I see.
Yeah. And to your point, Lala, my daughter said that, my daughter's of that generation where she's like, I want the soft life. I don't want to have to be doing all this heavy lifting. I want my man to take care of me. And she said this little boy she was dating, he was like, well, my mama was a single mama. She did this. She could, if my mama could do it, you. And she like, oh, hell no. Like, I don't want that.
Yep.
do you see these young people are like wanting something different? Because, we had this, a lot of black men say feminism destroyed the black family when these white women start telling black women, their rights and you don't got to take that. You go to work. And now we got to work. And they're like, working is ghetto. Are these young people thinking a little bit differently now than they did before?
They are, but this is why there's a problem. You have got to get out of your own way. Yes, you can have it all, but you also have to check your own ego because your ego is the one that gets in the way. What I want. Okay, well, what about your partner? What do they want? You can have wants separately, but you also should be able to have wants together. Like there's no way in hell my husband does not throw his pom-poms up for me. Yes, men pom-poms. When I am trying to do something and he sees that I have achieved it, we celebrate together. It could be as simple as learning a new riff, learning a new song, or selling a $2 million house. And I do the same for him. Hey, oh my God, you are getting streamed on Spotify like crazy. We're doing this together. When he needs his time and he needs to walk in his life journey, I am his cheerleader. When I need to do that, he is mine. And then together we are stronger. So we are the ones who need to check ourselves because if you don't get out of your way, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah. You know what? Thank you for that, because we do need to get out of our way. Um, this question kind of got to me though. It said, I have a 4-bedroom, 3-car garage. He had a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage. He looked around and said, I can't do this. You already got everything. That's the thing that I kind of fear. I have a 7,000 square foot house in a gated community on a golf course, right? Is the if I invite anybody here, are they gonna be like, Dr. Lene, like, do I have a shot?
I saw that comment, and when I read it, I was sad, because you can determine the type of a man you're dealing with that question, with that environment. If a man walks into your home and automatically assumes he is inferior, that is on him, right? The right man will walk into your home and say, you got this and I got that. Together, man, we can have a 10,000 square foot home. We're going to come together and we're going to increase. I'm not intimidated by what you have. I don't feel inferior by what you have. I know what I bring to the table, and I see what you got. Together, we can go do some things. That's the type of man that you want. Like, yeah. He doesn't have to, he might have, you got the 7, I got the 3. Let's go increase. Let's go put this thing together. Let's grow. Let's invest. But if he comes in thinking, oh, well, she got everything, but she don't have a man. She don't have broad shoulders. She don't got like it's not always tied to the external merchandise, to what we walk in and see. Does she have somebody rubbing her back at night? Does she have somebody holding her and talking to her when things don't go right? Like, it's not just this thing. It's the totality of it. Are you going to come in here and be the head of the household? Are you going to lead? Are you going to be a man that I can count on and support? Are you going to help us to get to the 10,000? Are you going to come in here and cause dissension, and I lose my 7,000 square foot and I go backwards? Like, I'm just looking for somebody who's going to help me get to the next level, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you by what he says when he walks into that space.
Yeah. And you know what? An intimidated man, a man who's intimidated by all that, who feels that he's inferior, are going to make comments like on that video to say she disqualified herself because she's got everything. Those are men with small, you know what's.
Like, how I got 7,000 square foot, I just qualified myself, and you got 3,000. Make it make sense, right?
Right. There was this guy last year. I was saying, I'm getting ready to buy a house, and he was like, I don't think you should. You should stay in that house. We on top of each other over here. Like, me and my family can't fit in this house. I shouldn't get a bigger house. Like, yeah, but that goes back to that. But somebody said, LG said, there was once a time when girls were sent to charm school if the family could afford it. This was reinforced by the women in the family by being an example of how to be a lady also in the church. So Noma, you had a charm school, girl.
What did you say?
You have a charm school? You had a charm school? You teach?
I don't have a charm school, but I did go to modeling and grooming school.
Okay, tell us about that.
Coincidentally.
What did you do?
So I was gonna say, I actually wish that Joe, who's often on the panels when I'm on the panels, was here, because I feel like when it's just us women talking, sometimes we're negating the way that men feel and dismissing how they feel. And again, I said it at the beginning that when men are being honest about how they feel, and then we ridicule it and throw it away, that's how we end up with 70% of women being single, or 80% of women being single and being breadwinners by themselves. The fact is that that's how they feel. And it doesn't always mean they're insecure. There are a lot of men who take pride in being providers and protectors of their family. And the honest truth is, if he's making 100,000 and he feels good about that, and he meets a lady making 200,000 and he's seeing himself as her protector and provider, the final stop, the bottom line, he can kind of feel like, whoa, I'm not sure I can meet the standard that she has established for herself. So let me go to a woman whose standards I can meet. And that's valid. Yeah. Now, the thing is, there's also the other area of, again, back to the point of, why are we leading with what we're making and what we have? Why does it become, you can't hide your house, of course. If you have it, it is what it is. But for the most part, you really shouldn't be leading with that. It shouldn't be so in the forefront of the conversation that it becomes a deterrent to going any further. you should, as a woman, have more qualities beyond how much money you're making. He, as a man, should also have other qualities beyond what he's making. And the money conversation is the one that's always like this block that stops us from going beyond, where we could get to know more about each other and see if we have common values and common goals, and if we can build together and be better together.
Yeah.
I
Oh
always say
Lord. So
providing is
Boyce,
more than
Dr.
just
Boyce
money.
wants to come into the conversation, Dr. Alicia. Let's add Boyce in
What?
here.
He can't. He's listening. He can hear what we're saying. He
No,
can't help
he's
himself.
here. Let's bring him on stage.
Are you here, boys? You
What's
can't
up,
help
Dr. B?
yourself.
Hey everybody. You know what I really liked? I liked when and hey Noma and Lala and Nene and Constance. I feel like I was listening. I really enjoyed the conversation, right? I think I like what Noma said when she said validating men's feelings. I thought that was really powerful, you know. And
Yeah, but that guy, I just want to say, that guy said women disqualify themselves. That was rude.
yeah, and
we need to point that out. Thank you, boys.
yeah, and I know those guys. You know, they came from the Black Business School. They created their podcast out of it. I was really proud of them. And I was on there, and he never said anything like that. I really wanted to ask him, like, so what do you mean by that? Because I do think that it's a little strange when men are telling women what their options are, you know, or you making a blanket statement like, oh, you've disqualified yourself. I think it's your right to say that wouldn't be my preference. I think everybody has a right to have their own preference, right? But when you say, well, I don't want you, and I can confirm that no one else will either, that's kind of that's just misguided, right? And I think also it's it just reminds me of just how confusing dating has gotten because of racism and how you have created like this awkwardness where, you know, where women are doing really well and you want to cheer for that. I know I had to sort of reshape my whole thinking to be able to just try to understand the nuances and the diversity of Black women and how every woman has personally found her own way to kind of cope with her trauma, you know, and sometimes healthy, sometimes not, and still love and support, but just kind of know, like, I think dating as a Black man would be different if I was Chinese or something, you know, and yeah, and so it requires these conversations. So I kind of came in because I think Noma mentioned that it's all women, and she wished that Joe was here. Joe's much more articulate than I am, but I was like, yeah, let me come in and just,
No,
you know.
So you said dating as a Black man would be different if you was Chinese. First of all, you wouldn't believe Black and Chinese, but Dr. B, I do want to ask you though, because in this day and age, you're a man of a certain age. You're Gen X. You are a man of a certain stature, so you've probably never had to really worry about a woman making more than you because you make a lot of money. But okay.
Remember, I didn't always have money though.
Yeah.
And it's a true story. I was 28 years old. I was a graduate student making $12,000 a year. And I met a very nice lady who was making $100,000 a year. And I felt really inadequate. I was like, she owned a house. She's making good money. She didn't do anything at all to try to make me feel less than. She did absolutely nothing. But because of how I measure myself as a man and feeling like, okay, if I'm going to be in a relationship, I'm supposed to be bringing certain things to the table. I just didn't. I was like, you know, I can't. This is above my pay grade, you know. Yep. And to this day,
and you disqualified her because of that.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I did. And I think she was probably confused why I didn't call her back because she was very nice to me. But I just didn't feel like, I felt like it was almost like being asked to step into a size 14 shoe when you got a size 10 foot. I was like, you know, I'll be ready for someone like you in about 3 or 4 years when I'm making more money. I don't want to be the $12,000 a year grad student dating the lady making over 100,000. It just, she did nothing wrong. Sorry,
you're proving their point because that's basically essentially what they said is that, you know, for men, they don't feel that they're adequate enough when they have a woman that's making more than them. And is that I know we can't paint everybody with a broad brush, but is that kind of almost the consensus of a lot of men in feeling inadequate when we have a panel full of high achieving women, including, your wife. All of these women here are just out here doing a damn thing. Noma said she takes pride. Her high achieving is in being a wife to her husband. That is awesome. But other ones, like for sure, me and Dr. Lene, right? Both single women, business owners, make a certain amount of money. And then you have these men. She said she's getting more men as a result of her PhD. But for other men, they can feel like, they're disqualified because they're inadequate financially, is what they think. Not that she's making it about the money, but they may feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Can we not pretend that losers don't exist? There actually are losers who will not be making enough money and be targeting women who have high incomes, and they drive their car, drop them at work, and spend the day hitting on women and pretending that car is theirs. Can we please not pretend that those people don't exist?
But this is not the loser, though. This is the man. He may be a professional. He might be, he has a career. He's just not making what she's making.
I was just answering the question about when your income grows and you become very prominent as a successful woman, that there's lots of men chasing you. We do have to look at the quality of those men. And that's what I was saying. No disrespect to Dr. Lene, who's a very high value woman. I'm just saying that the quality of those men has to be looked at as well. There could be lots of them, and half of them could be losers looking for a woman who's going to take care of them. They do exist. They are out there.
I think they're called hobosexuals.
Hobosexuals.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a question for you, Dr. Boyce. When you were making the 12,000 and she was making the 100,000, how come the thought did not cross your mind? You knew you were going to be successful. You knew you were striving for something. How come a man who makes less doesn't think, I can be with this woman in pursuit of? I know that I'm going to be a man of value. I know I'm going to be a high earner at a point. How come I can't be with this woman as I work towards my goal? How come we can't come together and build? Why does the man have to come in at the level or above instead of in partnership?
Well, because it was 25 years ago, right? And I was much younger, but in the mind of my 28-year-old self, it was really shame. Like, my stuff ain't together, and if your stuff is all together and then we get together and you talk about your stuff and I talk about my stuff, I'm gonna have to explain to you why I ain't got a house, why my credit ain't where I want it to be, why I ain't got the money in the savings, why I'm not there, and it's really interesting. I still try to process it and understand exactly what I was feeling at the time. But I can say that I do believe that for some people, there might be this need to feel like you're really adding a certain type of value to a relationship, that you're really needed. And one of the biggest challenges that can occur, I think, when we get tricked into the whole, strong Black woman and I got this kind of mindset is, I know a lot of guys who are like, oh, well, you got this. Okay, I'm out. I'll see, you go handle this. You got this. I'm gonna go and have fun while you take care of the kids and do whatever. So I think you got to be careful about that. I think letting people know that they're needed is really important. And maybe there's some things she could have said to make me feel better about it. Maybe if I'd had a mentor that I talked through this with, I could have felt better. But I just reacted based on my original instinct, which was like, I don't know what I can really do for this lady. And then I'm gonna be embarrassed by the fact that I don't have anything yet. So let me just go get my stuff together and then I'll go and pick. And then also I know that I think how you're raised makes a difference too. And I remember my mother telling me you should finish school and get a job before you try to get married or anything like that. You shouldn't be trying to scramble while you're in school or anything. And I think that's not true. Like, in hindsight, I'm like, okay, that's not the case, but that's what I was raised to believe, but I do think that what this guy said about women being disqualified because they've accomplished so much, that's just a terrible paradox to put a woman in, because then you end up doing ridiculous things like ducking down to try to fit with a man who maybe he didn't do everything he could have done to be the best he could be. And I think that there are either men that have met the standard, or even men that maybe don't make as much money who are in touch enough with their emotion to where they can say, you know what, okay, it's all right. I'm cheering for you. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you go do your thing. Because I just don't think, I think just Black women are so exceptional in that area that you have to cheer it on. You have to support that, right? But I also think that women, I think there's something too, like women kind of learning how to, how to talk to men, how to deal with men in a certain way. I don't think there's hardly enough conversations. I was raised a lot to learn how to talk to a woman. I remember being told, you don't say this to a woman, you don't say that to a woman, whatever. But I don't know a lot of women who were trained like on how to talk to a man. Like literally being told, like, look, you don't say that to a man, or that's disrespectful. Oh no, you can't tell me what I can't say. Okay, well, fine, then you'll just be by yourself. So I think that there's a way you can carry yourself that will make you more conducive. And I will give credit to my wife before I leave, because I've been talking too much. I apologize.
Wait, I have a follow-up question. Go ahead to give credit to Alicia. I have a follow-up question.
And I got a question too. You can't leave yet.
Okay, I'm gonna say, and then I'll say. Well, let me give credit to Alicia, because one thing that her and her mother did a lot of that I appreciated was they consistently went out of their way to say, gosh, boys, we really appreciate you. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you for the gratitude. Just goes a long way, because I think men, I think we got our egos, and that's what. In fact, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me when I was, in case y'all haven't seen it, my wife looks a lot like my mother. I didn't even figure that out until we'd already got married, and I saw them two in a picture together, and it reminded me of when I was 12 years old. And me and my mother went to the grocery store, and my mother, she used to call me Coco, and I helped her carry something in the grocery store. And she said, Coco, you are such an asset. And I didn't even know what an asset was, right? But it sounded good. And she was on the phone with her best friend, Charlene. And I said, Mama, tell Charlene what you said about me. She said, what? I said, tell her what you said about me being an asset. And she told her, and I was so proud to be an asset. So I think maybe that little boy in us, or that little girl in us, stays there for life, and I just have to say I appreciate that. So
I love that.
Yeah, but I just want to let you know that the compliments that my mom gives to you, you always say, why are you saying that to me? And she said, just you being you. So she's not tying your worth to what you're doing for somebody. She doesn't say, she give you compliments because you're doing anything. She says to you over and over again, I'm telling you that you're wonderful just because you are Boyce. She's not tying it to whether you spend money, whether you do certain things, whether you any of these other things. So she makes that very clear to you that just Boyce being Boyce is good enough.
So Dr. Alicia actually prefaced my follow-up question, which is, would you make that same decision today? Because I think a lot of men tie their value and their worth and provision to money.
Yes.
But as a grown man today, would you make the same choice and decision? We're not talking about $12,000. If you make less and she makes more, would you tie your value to the finances or to who you are as a man, what you bring to the situation?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't make that same decision today. If my wife made more money than me, I'd say, great. Just make sure you give me some of it. And that's it. I wouldn't. I think that just comes with being confident in who you are and what you've accomplished. And I think that at that age, I felt like, okay, I'm not there yet. I'm just I felt like a piece of meat being cooked in the oven. Like I just wasn't done. I wasn't ready for that next level of just even the responsibility of it all and everything. And I'm ashamed to admit it, but at the same time, I don't regret making that decision at that time. But I think now I would probably counsel guys to say, look, Black women are making money. They're doing really well. But I really think that that men's egos are very real, and feeling needed is very important. And I would encourage women, let that man know how much you appreciate him. Gratitude and gratefulness. I think that goes across the board, and I don't know if enough people learn that simple lesson.
Yeah, and then I just want to make another comment, because I'm only talking because you're on here, but I think it's important. Gratitude is always important in healthy relationships. However, it's not a woman's job to feed a man's ego. Like to say,
I think it is.
Oh, it's not a woman's job. You don't rest. You do. Men who are secure in themselves do not depend on a woman to feed their ego. Men who are secure in themselves think it's great to have gratitude and appreciation in terms of a good, healthy relationship, but to rest the entire relationship and your self-worth on whether someone's pumping you up like that gets into this narcissistic thing that is a little unhealthy. So I think we need to differentiate that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
we need to differentiate that because
I actually think almost I think almost, a different view is that it actually is our job, and it becomes even more important when you're dealing with Black men, taking into account what they go through as soon as they step out the door. It is absolutely our job to make them feel respected, to make them feel like heroes, to find they should have a healthy self esteem, but it's up to us to validate that and build that up. That is part of nurturing a man, and that is part of nurturing your family members as a woman. And it's actually unique to us as women. And that's one of the things that I kind of alluded to earlier, that you have to come as a woman, not just talking about, well, I can make as much money as you. Know what are the qualities that you bring as a woman? How are you going to build this man up? How are you going to make this marriage something that he's not going to regret? How are you going to nurture and take care of these children? And does he have confidence in you that you will always have his back, but you're not going to tear him down, just like the world is tearing him down? Does he have the confidence that if he's away or unable or whatever, that his children are in good hands? Those are very important things. And then, of course, that you're a wealth-minded woman, a marriage-minded woman, a family-minded woman. And all of those things contribute and are just as important as how much money he makes and whether he can be a protector and a provider. Because I just don't like that the conversation talks about money all the time. When we are both, as a man and a woman, chasing the bag and talking about our money, what's happening to our family? What's happening to our children? How are we instilling other things other than being obsessed with money into our children when all we do is focus on money?
So that's the topic of the conversation, of the discussion today, based upon this video. But I do want to ask you, so your responsibility is nurturing him. His responsibility is providing, or is this nurturing reciprocal?
There's responsibilities all around, but primary responsibility. His primary responsibility is to be protector and a provider. My primary responsibility is to be a nurturer. That it's like, even biologically, a man can't grow a child in his womb. We're naturally, as women, nurturers. Can we make money just as much as men? Absolutely. But that is not our primary thing. That's not how we were necessarily made to show up in the world. That's not the primary thing about us.
So then how can women and men create these healthy, balanced, and successful relationships, regardless, taking income off the table? And that's a question for, I would say, Lala. You've been married for
I'm still going to stick to what I'm saying. We've been married for 30-something years, and it is a matter of getting out of your own way. When your partner needs you, you are there, man or woman, period. If you can't do that, you're not grown and mature enough to be in a relationship that way. You've got to get your ego out of the way. Period. That is the problem. I have no problem with letting my husband be the man. All right. And he has no problem with me doing the woman things. Like, he can barbecue like I don't know what, but he also loves it when I cook for him. So it's a balance thing. It is, people take this way too serious. It's simple. You have to be equally freaking yoked. If you are not, it will never work. Period.
What is equally yoked?
Listen, you have to have the same type of thoughts, the same principles that you both agree to. You have to have these conversations before you get married. You have to learn to communicate with one another. Even when you're mad, you have to communicate. You have to learn to say, I need a few minutes. Can you just give me a few minutes to go and think? And there are times that you can do that. You say, I'll be back. We'll have this conversation later. All right, we'll do that. Then we'll come back together. You have to have the same wants and the principles that are important to you. What's important to you has to be important to him. It has to be important to what you want to pour into your children and into your families. Now, I know I hear people say things like, oh, I don't like my mother-in-law. That was important to me to love my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is my best friend. So when I say not only are we equally yoked together, we are equally yoked as a family. If you don't have that, you have nothing.
Girl, you better shake that table. You better shake that table, girl.
Pass the offering plate around. Go ahead, pass the offering plate.
Wait. Okay, last question, then we're gonna get out of here. So last week or the week before last, because I was remembering when y'all was talking, Dr. Alicia and Dr. Lene, the battle of the doctors. Remember we ended that conversation? Do you remember, Dr. Lene? What was we talking about?
I do.
We were talking about submission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had and I would definitely love to hear Boyce's opinion on that, because you two, we had very different opinions on what it meant to submit. And so, Dr. Lene, I want you to explain kind of what you were talking about, and then Dr. Alicia, and then I'd like to hear what Dr. Boyce has to say. All the doctors talk about this today. This is good.
My view on submission. Again, I'm a Christian, so I'm thinking more from the Bible, right? So biblically, the man is the head of the household. He is the lead. He is the provider. He is the covenants, right? So I think I gave the example of, I had just recently watched the video on submission, and the young man was saying that the man submits to the woman submits to the man on the first layer, coming together in relationship. We're going to do relationship. I'm submitting to you. You're submitting to me. Again, we're talking about marriage. I'm not talking about your boyfriend. Marriage, submission.
Mm-hmm.
Then the woman submits to the husband, and the husband submits to God. So overall, God is the top, and everything flows down through him. So you're trusting this man that you've given leadership to guide you and to provide for you, etc. Submission in the form of a woman's voice is not dimmed or taken away. Your husband is listening to you and seeking counseling you and seeking guidance from you, but ultimately he makes the final decision, and the woman goes along with. Again, doesn't have to agree with, doesn't have to like it, but goes along with, because this is the man that she has chosen as the head of the household, as the leader, to make good choices and decisions for the family. That is what my version of submission is. In marriage.
Oh, go ahead.
In marriage.
And then Dr. Alicia, you said,
my question is, because I'm trying to be a good listener, how do you know that a husband has submitted to God? Is it based on, does he get a submission certificate? Is there a pastor that comes on that says, I've ordained you as being submitted to God?
This lady right here. Go ahead. Okay.
Is it required that y'all sit down and read scriptures together? Do you pray together? Like, how do you know that a husband has submitted to God? That
is actually a really good question. I'm glad you asked that one. As a woman, you have to know your man, your husband, and you will know based on how the fruit of his apple. Is he praying over you? Are you trusting him?
So he has to pray over
you, listening to you. You will know if your husband is submitting to God.
How am I supposed to know?
Because you have a relationship.
Can we remove the religion for a minute?
Well, that's the
I don't know if it's practiced outside of religion.
This is her point.
Yeah, Dr. Alicia was talking.
I don't know what criteria that is.
I'm religious. She was talking about science. So that's how we got on this initial conversation. So I don't know if people practice submission outside of religion.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Okay. So Dr. Alicia, so go ahead. Finish.
It's not clear to me. How am I supposed to know if my husband has submitted to God? That's the first thing. I don't know. How am I supposed to know that? He's a human being like everybody else. I don't know how I'm supposed to know that.
Do religion or
Christianity? Are we supposed to go to church?
How
am I supposed to tell? He's supposed to pray over me?
Can I say something?
No. When do we set up prayer meetings together?
So here's the thing. I actually believe.
Hold on. Go ahead, Noma, and then go ahead, Lala.
I actually believe in what Dr. Lene is saying, But I never actually put it that way because then the religion factor starts polluting the whole conversation. But when we talk about, let's say you go into corporate America and there's a CEO, nobody comes into the company or the organization and suddenly starts questioning the validity of the CEO.
Boom.
Because he was chosen as a CEO because of his qualifications. And that's something we assume is in place, right?
I like that.
So everybody answers to the CEO and he has final say. The same thing goes with, I don't know if it's football or basketball or whatever. When you have a captain, he's the one who calls the plays or whatever you want to say it. Off the field, everybody can do whatever they want. But once we get into the game, the captain is the one who's leading the team. And when you understand that concept that way, then you don't have to have these conversations about is submission okay or is it not? Because we start with the idea that the person who's in that position of the CEO, the captain, or the husband is qualified for that position. So then we should, the question then earlier was, earlier I actually said, let's take that conversation a step back and talk about selection. The selection of the partner, the selection of the CEO, the selection of the captain, and so forth. If you don't select properly, then it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. You have to have a good captain, a good CEO, and a good husband for everything else to fall into place. The leadership, the leader has to be a solid leader. Then we don't question the leader because then nothing will work. If you're always attacking or questioning the leader, then we can't move forward and he can't actively play his part because he has to deal with beating off all the other stuff that's going on.
So you can't.
I was saying that's the reason why don't be like me and get married before your prefrontal cortex is developed.
Yeah,
you can choose better.
But the other thing, Constance, I want to add is if you get married young, your family is supposed to be heavily involved in your choice of husband because you will not make a good choice and you will get into trouble.
What's a good choice in a husband then?
So
someone who can protect, provide, lead, listen. I mean, the list is 100 long. Just in the same way that we can stop a list for women.
The question is up to you. It is not up to anyone else to make that decision other than you. Now, I agree, Noma, I'm kind of with you on a lot of things, but you're asking a question, Dr. Alicia, that has to be answered within yourself. Listen, I knew my man was a good leader because I prayed for one and I prayed earnestly. Now, I know people are not going to want to talk about religion, but I did. I prayed over that. I asked for things specifically because it says if you really want something, you need to be particular. And then after we did that, after I did that, I found out he did the same thing too. Okay. To me, that showed me he was a good leader for our family. He also respects my opinion. Now, if we differ, I will always submit. Now, if something is really eating at me, like, I don't think so, babe. I just don't think so. This is not feeling right. He respects that of me. This is how I know he is a good leader because he also, even though he's under the authority of God, respects that I am his peace that is beside him, not behind him, not in front of him.
So that's my
To me, that shows me that a part of my religion shows me that he is the one for me. So you're asking about the religious part. That's how I know. That's not something I can say, Dr. Alicia, it's because of this. That's something that I know within my heart.
So that's what I'm saying. You said you guys are beside each other. And that was the comment I was making. Like, two people coming together, making decisions together, compromising, respecting each other. These are the qualities that I know make a healthy relationship. It sounded to me, because I wasn't understanding, it sounded to me that it's almost like there is a dyad where you're underneath him and there is no together. That's what I wanted to rectify, that we need to have the language that we're speaking is two people coming together as equal adults having a conversation, compromising, making decisions together. There are certain things where you say, okay, well, I'll deflect to you. I think let's go your route. And there's other conversations where you can say, you know what, Alicia, I think maybe we'll go your route. It's not about, not domineering and controlling, leading with love and respect. That was what I was trying to say. It's two people together making a decision. And what I'm seeing people do is use this women submit to husband thing, and they're using it as a way of domineering and controlling. You have to do what I say because of this. And I'm saying, wait, we need to clarify exactly what this means and have a conversation in that. And that is what I was talking about. That is so much more important than anything.
Dr. Lene, you want to say something? Because I seen that smirk over there. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your expression. What's going on in your mind, Dr. Lene?
Go ahead, let Dr. Boyd go,
right,
because,
go ahead, Dr. B.
because Alicia just backpedaled on what she was saying.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you make it together. But the submission thing is as a parent-child relationship.
Hold on. One at a time. No. But hold on. But what Noma said is there is one head, there is one coach, there is one captain, there is one CEO. So that is
there's a hierarchy. Yes, there's a hierarchy.
You're saying no, Lala, and I'm interested in what you want to say,
You're
Dr. Nate. But I want to know what Dr. B got to say.
I obviously got to be careful because my wife is in here, but but I will say that I think relationships in America are complicated, and when I tried to solve the puzzle of being married to a smart Black woman who has a lot of opinions, I leaned on things that I've experienced, things I read, things I've seen in the Black community. And I went back to my parents' 50 years of marriage, where they had a different kind of marriage than we had. My father was a police commander, so he tended to take the lead a lot. But I did see him submit and defer to my mother on a lot of occasions, right? She was always really important to him, but he was kind of the macho man, always the boss. I'm not the same as my father, but one thing I've learned about leadership, in my opinion, and submission is that in order to make something succeed, in my opinion, you've got to submit to something. Some people submit to God. Some people submit to their spouse. I submit to my goal of being the best head of this family I could possibly be. I submit to showing up as the best man I can be in every situation. And what I find is that when you submit to core values that make you into the best that you can be, and some degree of competence in the way you make decisions, that naturally lends itself to leadership in itself. Like nobody really picked Michael Jordan to be the leader of the Chicago Bulls. He just went out and scored 30 points a game. And then people said, oh, this guy's good at basketball, so maybe his opinion should matter when we're deciding what the team strategy is. Nobody had to name him the team captain. So in our household, my wife has a lot of competence, and I respect that immensely. But also I have competence. And there's also such a thing, I think, in some scenarios as people seeing things differently. We're different. She sees things her way. I see things mine. And I see it as his, hers, and ours, right? There are times where in my space, I'm making a decision that's important to me, and I'm going to make that decision. It's going to happen whether anybody agrees or not. But then there's times where she does the same thing. She says, boys, this is what we're doing. I say, okay, all right. I'll be in the back seat. I'll be in the passenger side, babe. Let's go do it. Right. And then when it becomes an hours thing, there does have to be that communication and negotiation and everything else.
Tiebreaker.
And this becomes the complication of modern relationships. We
usually compromise. Like we usually have a conversation where I'm like,
who has the final say?
All right.
We compromise except for when we don't, right? We figure it out except for when we don't. That's just the reality, right?
Sometimes when we're at an impasse, we get back to, okay, what is really important? Like we continue the conversation.
Well, let me just tell
one
you,
person needs to
let me
feel
tell
like
you,
they're
let
not
me tell you what
important.
everybody here, what I know about our relationship is I know when a woman loves me and when she does not. I know that that this lady married me, and wants to be with me, and that we're 9 times out of 10 we're gonna figure it out. And because I think she sees the value in who I am as a person, and it's gonna be okay, right? Like it's kind of like these things where I think that it would be false to make anybody believe everybody has it all figured out, because I don't think anybody does. But one thing I can tell you is that I'm 100% crystal clear on what my goals are in my life, and I did tell my wife, I said, look, if you leave me, I'm going with you. Right? If you ever try to leave, I'm gonna be like, where are we going? Because that's how I was raised. You know, and I'm
You did say that to me. I was like, I'm so mad at you now.
I was raised. No, I was raised. My father, when I asked my father, how did you stay married 50 years? He said it was easy. I didn't get a divorce. Right. So, long story short, I think every relationship has different rules, and you got to figure out what the rules are. And this is where self-development is so important. Like learning all the little tricks from therapy. Like I'll pull out my whole bag of tricks to get through a really tough situation. I read a whole book about women called What Women Want Men to Know. So I try to understand. I know things about my wife that she doesn't even know that I know about her, because if I tell her that I know these things, she's gonna deny it till the end of the day.
I'll be like, you ain't got me pegged.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, I study you like a book, and because I learned that if you want to be good at something, you study it. My aunt, my wife's aunt, she's a really smart lady, and she used to say that what is it? Everything's easy if you study. So I study my wife, I study the kids, I study the family, I study everything. And then I say, okay, how am I gonna, and I'm a problem solver, right? So that self-development became really critical when it comes to negotiating the complexities of family and marriage. It ain't easy for nobody. Yeah. So, that's my last word on this. Thank you for letting me say that. I'm gonna leave.
No, now. I agree. This to me has more color to it than just the submit. Like it just seems like you need to explain it. It needs to be fleshed out a little bit more for me. For me to be, all of these concepts. What we're really talking about is healthy relationships look like this. And that's what we're really talking about, fleshing things out, not dismissing another person, not telling them they're wrong, not ignoring them or making them feel like they're less than, or feeling like somebody is disqualified, and all of these words that does not belong in healthy relationships. Honestly, like I always, even if Boyce and I are talking and it just falls apart, which it does, I will come back to him and say, Boyce, let's try it again. Let's have this conversation again, because I want the solution to be comfortable for both of us.
Yeah. No, this is good. But you know what? What it showed me is that everybody has a different path in getting to the final goal, and everybody has their own way. We're all very, very different, and what works for you in your relationship works for you. It doesn't work for everybody. What works for Noma and her husband, it may not work for Dr. Lene.
But the key with submission is we have to get to the point where there's a disagreement. And the key with submission is that there has to be an agreement about what happens when there's an impasse. And with hierarchy, then you defer to the person who you've appointed as the leader. Now, Dr. Alicia actually earlier talked about trust in relationships. You shouldn't be with a person who's going to make the final decision for your family or for your marriage if you don't trust them to take into account what's good for the both of you or good for the collective. And again, it still goes back to your choice of partner, your choice of spouse. You should be able to trust that even if I don't get the final say and he gets final say, he's going to make the best decision for us.
And Noma's right about that. There's the trauma and the broken families and all that. The trust level in the Black community is very low.
Trust comes when you're with somebody that you feel like cares about you and feels like that you matter, and feels like no matter, you don't even have to be around each other 24/7. I know and trust that person is working for the betterment. Everything that they do is working for the betterment of this relationship. And that's what trust is. And so it does take a good listening ear and patience. And I was so happy. Let me tell you, the other day I wanted to talk to Boyce about something that was bothering me. And I know he's a busy CEO, and I trust him, because you know what? Even though he had a lot of appointments, he took out time in the morning and said, okay, Alicia, Tell me what's on your mind. And I know he had a whole bunch of other stuff to do, but I was like, I just want to talk to you about what was going on with me. You said this, and it hurt my feelings. And I would talk to him, and he stopped and listened to me. That makes me trust him more. And I have thanked him for like every day this week, because I really did feel good about that.
I learned that from one of the therapy books. I learned to listen. I'm gonna go and
we gotta go. We got lunches upstairs. I'm hungry.
But thank you all for letting me come in.
Yeah.
I apologize for talking too much.
Thank you for coming on.
And thank you, boys, for your contribution.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna let you round it up and then give your final thought.
My final thought. This was a great conversation. I think I almost felt like when we first started it, like we just had this conversation. But I think every time we have it differently. There's different opinions that comes out. There's different ideas, different ways to have this conversation. And so I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I think it's important that women hear it and men hear it, so that we can do a better job of communicating, coming together, being vulnerable, dating, all of the things. I'll say that. I'm Dr. Lene Javette. You can find me online at I am Dr. Lene Javette.
You know what I like about the conversation is that I think the last time we had it, it was like, you were like, we need to finish this conversation about submission, because we kind of did not end it. And then I think we kind of fleshed it out. And I think at the end of the day, like, it's all up to you and your personal relationships, your own personal beliefs, how that all shakes out with you. Like, nobody could tell you how you should be in a relationship with your significant other. And that's just the bottom line. Lala, she shook the table earlier. I want to know what the hell you got to say, girl.
Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing in their relationships, because it's not up to you to do this. There's no cookie cutter relationship. Right. It is what you and your spouse decide to do to run your household, and with mutual respect. So don't get in your head of the Cosmo magazine, Black Essence magazines, what these young men are saying on here, because none of that matters. They are just talking heads, speaking pieces, spewing what they believe in. It's up to you to get out of your way to get what you want in a relationship, and understand that there are two people, not just one, to make it work.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, thank you. And where can we find you, Lala?
Well, you can find me on my website at www.laurakey.net. Got a lot of great new stuff there for you, so go check it out.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you. And then Miss Nomalanga.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Constance, when you say that different things work for different people. But the caveat to that is that, everything that will end up in success has fundamentals. And, with relationships between men and women, there are what are called polarities. And it's been proven that when you have, a man that is more masculine and a woman that's more feminine, they're less likely to, buck heads. So those are some of the fundamentals. Now, we do have relationships where we move closer to the middle, and again, that can work if there's flexibility, there's understanding, and again, other fundamentals like respect, communication, regarding each other as equals, even though we show up as equals in different ways. I think that's very important. And I think this was a great conversation. I think it never ends. This is the space that I love, because I think there's nothing more important than marriage and family. It's actually been proven that the number one determinant of future success is the partner that you choose and settle down with. So that's a very important conversation. You can find me if you are looking for me on social media. I'm on Facebook, just as my name shows up here. I'm also on Instagram. I also always, whenever I show up on a show, on a panel, do ask for your support at our charity. It's there. It's padsforourgirls.com. What we do is we supply sanitary pads to young girls in schools who experiencing period poverty. So you can go to padsforourgirls.com if you do feel so inclined.
Well, thank you, Noma. While Dr. Alicia is doing her final thought, can you put that in the comments so that people could click on the link? Dr. Alicia, we're gonna round it off with you, lady.
Round it off with me.
Since you had your husband up in there, you gotta do the final thought for the both of y'all.
This is unusual.
I loved it though. It was great. He definitely added the color and the flavor to it.
I knew he would. He always makes things interesting. Always. Like, y'all don't know, I've known Boyce before he was Dr. Boyce. I knew him when he was a master's student and trying to get his PhD, making $12,000 a year. And I loved him then, and I love him now. And there are many different interpretations of the Bible. Sometimes one of the yes, there are about 6 or 7 different interpretations. One of the interpretation could be that perhaps it's about your conscious and subconscious mind, that your subconscious mind has to submit to your conscious mind. Your conscious mind represents masculinity, the husband. The subconscious mind represents the female, the woman. So you impregnate your subconscious mind to have thoughts and ideas. So there's several different interpretations. I encourage everybody to dig into all of them. I dig into all of them. I pick the metaphorical perspective of the Bible. It makes more sense to me. But I respect anybody in their own interpretations. With that, you can find me at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Instagram, follow me on Instagram, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. You can contact me at my website, coachingwithdralicia.com.
Yay. Listen, this panel was everything today. It was everything that it needed to be. It gave everything that it needed to give. Okay. So all you ladies were brilliant, as you all, y'all could hang with some of anybody, the top debaters in the country, put y'all on a stage, and y'all gonna make it happen. So I love it. Everybody had their opinion of what they thought was best for them, and they stood on that. Nobody backed down. I love that. And that's what you should do. You should feel how you feel and say how you feel with all the conviction. And I love that about this group of ladies, how we always come together and we can say what we want to say and how we feel. And that be that. It was powerful. It was a powerful discussion. We've unpacked a lot. The reality is success shouldn't be a turnoff. It should be something we celebrate, especially in our community, Black people. We got to get it together. The idea that a woman loses value when she levels up financially is outdated. It needs to get out of here. At the end of the day, relationships, they're about respect, support, and shared vision, not just money. Money's a byproduct. It comes and it goes. So what happens if you lose it? Y'all still gonna be there? The truth is, we need to have more conversations about shifting gender roles, breaking limiting beliefs, and creating partnerships that work for both men and women. So what y'all think? Do high-earning women really struggle? According to Dr. Lene, that doesn't. According to me, listen, I don't have no problem in seeing what's out there. So I don't think it's a problem, but I think it's a problem that they've created with these podcasts, and they're talking about things that really, I don't think are as prevalent as they are saying that they are, but perhaps it is. What about you, high earning women? Is it something that you're facing or you're dealing with? I don't know, but we're going to have a whole nother discussion tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. We appreciate you rocking with us for a whole 1 hour and 41 minutes. You take care. God bless. We'll see you on the other side. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.